There is a new gathering space in downtown Jackson decorated with historic images of the Episcopal Church and its contributions.
As 3 on your sides, Rosalind Anderson reports the Congress Street mural is a partnership celebrating diocese's deep roots and ongoing community impact in the state.
We're so excited to be able to share this with the public here.
What was once a walkway along the Episcopal Diocese of Mississippi is now a picturesque journey of the church, capturing its history and that of the state. Wednesday, it was filled with people witnessing the historic mural's dedication. Muralist Andrea Costiel created the painting, depicting 3 prominent bishops and the church's involvement in shaping the state's religious landscape.
Andrea also just included in the mural all of the representations of what it means to love all of God's people here, however it is that we are, making certain that our churches are accessible and inclusive places where all of God's people feel welcome.
The mural is beautiful and it's so meaningful and if I might say spiritual.
The artwork is a part of Downtown Jackson Partners' Alley Gallery Public Art Initiative. The nonprofit reached out to the church to transform the space.
Well, one thing we know that's important when you revitalize a downtown is to activate public spaces and to fill them with art. Art lifts us all up and it certainly beautifies our spaces.
Like a domino effect.
The Episcopal Church is also celebrating its bicentennial, honoring ministry, leadership, and service throughout the state. In downtown Jackson, Rosalind Anderson, 3 on your side.